Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami with the Camper Report Show.
And on this Camper Report show, Bob, we're doing something a little bit differently because, first of all, I'm not in my office in frigid Massachusetts, but I am in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I'm doing something that more and more people are doing, and that is called camping without an RV, because so many campgrounds have changed their offerings and allow people who don't own an RV but would like to maybe get one to try out the RV lifestyle, and it's pretty cool.
Yep, be in the campground, enjoy all the benefits of it. Just bring your car and hop into a nice park model home. That
Yep.
looks like a great setting. How many
Oh,
park models do they have there?
I think there's about 200 here, and
Wow.
you can see a little bit in the background. Uh,
Yep.
these are all two bedrooms with a loft, and look at this, Bob. It even has an outdoor TV and an
Wow.
outdoor fireplace,
Wow.
which is really cool. But you know what? We've got a different setting and we've got a little bit different format today because you informed me that there is some breaking news within the RV industry media. And we are the first ones to be able to deliver the news. Talk about that.
We're gonna put them on center stage. Every week we get our news from RV Business and Woodall's Campground Magazine, and that's under the umbrella of G&G Media, our good friends Rick Kessler and Ben Quiggle. Well, this week, Mr. Kessler, along with Scott Stropkai, who was formerly with Statistical Surveys, have acquired G&G Media. So there's some new, we might call it young blood coming into the industry. They're going to have their own ideas. So we decided to dedicate the show this week and just talk to Rick and Scott about the excitement of the acquisition. Caught a lot of people off guard, but also what their future plans are. When you make an investment like that, you all obviously have your own ideas. It's going to be exciting to see what they have in store for themselves, the company, and the industry in general.
So we are going to talk about RV business with the folks from RV Business, and we're going to do it right here. Where, Bob?
On the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, everybody. Hey, everybody. My name is John DePietro, and welcome back to the Camper Report Show. This is the news section, and my colleague Bob Zagami is right here, and we've got two other people in here we're going to tell you about in just a minute. But you know what, folks? There was some breaking news in the RV industry just a couple days ago, and also impacting the campground and outdoor recreation industry. And because we always bring you the news first, because we get it from RV Business in Woodall's Campground Magazine. But Bob, it's a little bit different. Today, the news is about RV Business in Woodall's Campground Magazine. Bob, why don't you introduce our special guests who are standing by here in the green room?
Yeah, we got some good RV friends here. Rick Kessler, who is now the owner of G&G Media, which produces RV Business and Woodall's Campground Management. And you may not be familiar with Scott Stropkai, who was formerly with Statistical Surveys. And
Rick is nodding. Rick is shaking his head. Scott, tell us the proper way. Say it 5 times so Sagami can understand it.
So I was a school teacher for 4 years, and the kids couldn't really say my last name either, so they called me Mr. Dropkey. So it's Stropkai.
Stropkai.
Stropkai. Right.
Okay. So we don't want to drop keys.
So these gentlemen have just acquired G&G Media. Big industry news this week, and of course they're familiar to the industry, maybe not so much to the consumers on that side, although you've seen their names and you probably have seen them in some videos. Some of them have been on our shows. We wanted to jump right out the gate with them. And first, gentlemen, congratulations. I mean, this This is I'm sure it's a great lifetime experience for you. Rick, how did this journey come about?
How much time do we got?
And don't go back to, well, when I was 5 years
John,
old and I used to go
right,
camping.
right, John.
John and I are Italian. We can talk all day.
Well, to cut to the chase, I've been with G&G Media Group LLC for just about 9 years. And for maybe the last 4 years, I've been a junior partner, a minority owner with Sherman Goldenberg and Greg Four. Sherman, of course, he is RV business. He's had the magazines. He's owned the magazines first with Beverly Gardner, his original partner, and then Greg Four after Bev passed. But Sherman's had the titles for, geez, I think it's 12, 13, 14 years, something like that. The magazine itself goes back 51 years, but the last 12 or so has been Sherman. So I was a junior partner for 4 or 5 years, and then not quite a year ago, it was maybe 9 months ago, is when Greg and Sherman approached me about getting serious, in their words, getting serious about buying them out.
Or being fired.
Sometimes you never know, right? We're at the Sports Time Bar and Grill in Elkhart, and before I even
That's
sat down for lunch,
we know it
place,
well.
yeah.
There's a lot of businesses being conducted there, right?
And still, apparently, because that was where they sprung that on me, and since then, or starting then, is when I needed a business partner, because I might know a little bit about editorial content. I know next to nothing about how to be a business owner and how to run a business. And
Rick, let me stop you for 1 second there. I think that was very wise that you were able to realize that putting the magazine together from a editorial perspective is totally different than putting any kind of publication together from the business side. So the smart thing to do was realize your shortcomings and go find somebody to fill in that void. And Scott, that must be where Scott comes in.
That's absolutely where Scott comes in. Scott and I were talking about this just yesterday. I don't know, Scott, when did we first start talking to each other about this? Sometime last summer?
Yeah, maybe May, June of 2022, somewhere in that general neighborhood.
I apparently caught Scott on a foggy day because he was actually interested to learn more about it.
So who lied to who? Who lied more to who?
Oh, sorry, John. I don't know who lied more to who, but I'm assuming Rick was just going down his checklist, and I was probably 7th or 8th on the list, and he got to me, and everybody else was probably busy or whatever. So I said, sure, that sounds like a good time. So that's just how it started.
Right. But you got to admit that these are whenever there's a challenge, there's an opportunity. So there's so much opportunity with changing technology. And Rick, I would say that the founding people of this magazine 51 years ago would, number one, they wouldn't know what the internet is. They wouldn't know what social media is. They wouldn't know what a digital copy is. But it's changing faster than ever. And I know Scott's involved in a lot of technology. That's exciting opportunities for you guys.
Oh, definitely. And just to backtrack a little bit, the reason why Scott is a perfect partner in this business is because of his background. I don't know if you wanted to talk about where Scott came from or not, but I certainly will. I'll toot his own horn.
I think it's a critical piece of the whole puzzle. I think it's a brilliant addition to the team. Scott, why don't you don't be humble, but give us a little bit of that background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, my background in the RV space was I really knew nothing about it pre-2007. As I mentioned earlier, I was a school teacher. I sold some other interesting products and then stumbled onto a monster ad in 2006, 2007, and ended up at a company called Statistical Surveys. If a lot of RV consumers are watching this, they might have never heard that name before. And then you got Scott Stropkai with Statistical Surveys. That's a whole mouthful. So we tracked the retail sales in the RV business. So we can tell all the manufacturers, dealers, how many RVs are sold where, and who's buying them and all that information. So we were kind of the data source for the industry. I did that for 16 years. It was a great run. And I actually owned it for a number of years, and we sold it to a larger company, Trader Interactive, which owns RV Trader. Great company. It was just time for me to move on and go to a smaller company like G&G Media. So it's really a great fit.
I think your ability to look at this from an analytical standpoint, there's probably things that are not being done and cataloged the right way in the RV industry right now, statistically. And that brings a big equation into your picture. Tell us, Rick, I'm going to jump back to you, but when you did this and when you signed those papers last Friday and you looked out there and said, okay, it's ours.
No, Bob, before he said, okay, it's ours, he goes, oh my God, what did I just do?
Well, that's right. That's the last step before they turn over the keys to you. Do I know what I'm doing? But I'm sure you do know what you're doing. Give us some insight as to what your plans are to bring it to the next level, because there's excitement in the industry. There's always excitement in the industry.
The plan is to make as few mistakes as possible, but we will make mistakes.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
What we're fortunate in is that we're not starting from scratch, nor are we starting in a deficit or in a hole of any way, shape, or form, because RV Business and Woodall's Campground Magazine are just absolutely rock solid publications and websites.
Right.
We're biased, of course, but we think we're the best at what we do. So we have an extremely good foundation to build on, and we're going to build on that foundation. We've got some ideas for sure. Some are in development that will spring on people later on this year. Others are in development that we just signed the papers, Monday, I think it was, for some back end stuff, some publishing management systems that we're putting into place. And John, this kind of goes back to what you were asking about technology. That's one thing that we're implementing that is technology, a computer software system that can run our business operations specifically for publications. Mm-hmm. Scott, I don't know if you want to jump in on that.
No, as Rick said, the base at G&G Media is great. What Sherman and Beverly and Greg and Rick have built, it's the premier publication in the industry. Obviously, I've thought that before. Now I have to say it, but I truly believe it. What they have, the relationships they have with the OEMs, the suppliers, the dealers, it's remarkable. And I just hope not to mess it up for anybody and hope to add just a little to it. But as Rick said, the base is there. We're just going to build off it.
Well,
Scott,
I think it is a solid, when you think about it, over 50 years, going back to the Affinity Group and going back to the original conception of the magazine itself. So it's always been the industry leader. It is the one single source that most people go to when they want to know what's going on in the RV industry. Rick, from a standpoint of magazines, you've got both the RV Business, which is our trade magazine, and then you've got Woodall's Campground Magazine. Are there other magazines? You don't have to spill all the beans, but are you looking at the consumer side of the business? Are you thinking about expanding into some other different types of magazines, or would you lean more towards the digital media world and things that are happening on the computer versus in print?
Yeah, those are the things that we're discussing. Absolutely. We'd be foolish not to start looking at where we can grow. And certainly one area we can grow into is the consumer side of things.
Rick, you bring up the good point, though. The capability to bring news to market in print was always a 45 to 60 to 90 day backup. Think of your print. Think of your June issue. When did the June issue close? Like April 15th, that type of thing, in order to get it all put together. The fact is, we will beat you with this to publication from your print end of it. Not beat you, but you're able to put it out instantly. And in reality, you could have done the closing live if you wanted to.
That's a good point. Well taken. I would argue that I think we beat you because we posted this on Monday and this will air later this week, right?
Well, that's only because I promised not to publish it on Friday.
Okay, now we're getting into the weeds. Scott, ignore all this stuff here. This is those two guys just talking about each other.
Just chatting away.
But John,
No,
John, you touch on a topic that I want to address though, and that is RV Business is every other month, so 6 times a year. That's the print magazine. Woodall's Campground magazine is every month. It is 12 times a year. Because RV Business is every other month, you're absolutely right. There's going to be some news that happened 2.5, maybe even 3 months before it gets into the magazine. Because of that, we use our website for the
supplement.
Yep, absolutely. That is the news of the day, and we publish at least 11 postings every day. Sometimes we've been known to publish as many as 20, especially when it's during open house week and whatnot. So because we have that big, huge lag in time, we want to try and have the print magazine, in addition to covering certain news, because you cannot avoid that. We want to make the magazine be full of analysis pieces, think pieces, some nice feature articles that you're not going to see in or are on our website. We have to give both platforms their own respective value for the reader.
Yeah, I don't think print will ever go away, but again, with the new technology coming out, it's not that one is better than the other. It's just one is newer than the other, and they have different uses. So to take the daily newsletter and do a 2-hour video feature on it, that's probably not the best use for it, but you could do 5 pages with color in photos in print that goes into much more historical data, not data, because Scott, that's your baby, but historical aspects and then plans for the future. From that end, let me ask you this. Is Woodall's going to see any difference with, and I know the next issue is not going to reflect it, but do you have more online media opportunities with that, videos, etc., campground visits?
We will. And I should point out, we're fortunate that we have Ben Quiggle as the editor of Woodall's Campground magazine for us. So we're starting with a rock solid foundation there. And Justin Leedy before him, I should point out too.
Yep. It's a good base of business. That's for sure. And rock solid. Scott, what do you bring to the table, and what are some of your expectations for growing certain aspects of the business operation?
Well, I hope to be able to work with our sales team and maybe introduce them to some contacts that I have within the industry that they've never met or never talked to, and I guess increase our advertising base. I mean, as we've talked about, and I know Rick and I believe it, we are the premier magazine website in this industry. We just need to get that message out to everybody in the industry. So that's what I hope to bring to the table, Bob. As Rick said, we'll probably stumble a few times along the way. We'll be like a duck on a pond. We'll be paddling really, really fast underneath the water and hopefully look calm, cool, and collective above.
So basically, Scott, what it boils down to is you'll be bringing money in that Kessler will be spending.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Is that pretty much?
Yep,
that's the job description.
Well, Scott is my sugar daddy. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not sure why I'm laughing at that, Rick. That seems awkward.
And we should acknowledge the tremendous job that Sherm has done with the publications during the, Sherm is a fixture. There isn't anybody in the Elkhart Goshen area that doesn't know Sherm Goldenberg. And Greg Four, who's had a tremendous career in the RV industry, they're not going too far from the nest. So it's going to be easy for you to pick up the phone or have them in the office. And I understand Sherm is going to still kind of stay connected to you. What do you see his role is going to be going forward, Rick?
Sherm's going to have as much a role as he wants. I think any of us who know Sherm, he is not the kind to retire and sit on the porch in his rocking chair?
Nope,
Not at all, right, Bob? Right?
not at all.
Just like you.
Neither.
Now,
I'm on a porch, but I'm not retired.
no,
And I'm not in a
Sherm
rocker.
definitely wants to continue to do the Capital Talk video interviews. He definitely wants to continue to be involved in the website each day, helping create the postings and shape what the website looks like. He definitely wants to be involved in decisions going forward, and we'd be silly not to have him involved in anything that he wants to be involved in. As
Sure.
you said, he is RV business. He built it to what it is. Anybody who knows RV business immediately thinks of Sherman. We probably should put his picture on the cover of every issue so that nobody forgets that.
He will put his picture on the cover of every issue.
And Rick, next time we meet you at a big event, we'll take you around and introduce you to Mike Happy and Bob Martin and all those guys too. So
Yeah, we want to make sure you have good contacts, Rick.
and then you'll get your own Keystone sweatshirt courtesy of Kevin. I mean, yeah.
Kevin Hawkey, yeah. So as we kind of wind down a little bit, because you are so specialized on the business side of the RV business, which is probably a good name for a magazine, Rick. You ought to call it RV Business, But what do you think are the three big challenges that we look at as an industry in 2023? And I'm going to ask you the same question, Scott, but I'm going to give you time to think about it, but I'm not going to give Kessler time. So the top
is your
challenges in 2023.
The challenges that we have in 2023 on the business side or just in general?
Yeah. The business side.
Okay. Right now we are still dealing with excess inventory on the dealer lots. It's getting worked through, as it always does during these types of phases. The dealers are concerned that some of the manufacturers are going to come out with new model year product before the generally accepted practice of midsummer. They don't want to obsolete what they already have in their lot.
Right.
Yep.
There is the concern on the dealer side of price creep, and that's unavoidable, especially through the pandemic. There was quite a bit of it. I think the manufacturers have responded with some new entry-level brands to help that situation. That's probably most from the dealer perspective. From the other side of things, from the consumer side of things, it's the same story that we've been talking about the last several years. There's not enough, Bob, it looks like even a campground right behind you. I know it's a dealer lot, but that's pretty much a campground nowadays with the number of people.
It could be either one, right?
Yeah, right. Campground availability, campsite availability is going to be an issue for a while. But as Ben tells you every time he's on the show, there is new interest in the campground industry. There is new developers coming in.
30 new projects underway right now.
Yep. And those are just the ones that we reported on. There's plenty more. That's going to be a long time issue. But other than that, I mean, it's still, the lifestyle is still appealing. I mean, you guys know I'm an RVer. I've been an RVer for 20 years now. And my grandparents are the ones that introduced us to it. So been in a motorhome since about time I could walk. Anyways, it's still an enjoyable lifestyle. It's still a chance to get away. It's still a chance to gather around a campfire, drink a few adult beverages around that campfire, maybe even eat a s'more or two, right? That's the stuff that's never going to go away. And that's why people continue to flock to and keep in the lifestyle.
I think it's a very exciting time. This is my 45th year as an RVer, 27th year covering the industry. I'm just as excited now as I when I bought my first Rockwood motorhome in 1978, and I think it was one of the first Rockwood motorhomes that was off the line.
You see that when the Flintstones used to open the show. That was the one that Zagami had with the square wheels.
Scott, what about yourself? You've looked at the industry from a couple of different angles.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is just coming back from just two amazing years in 20 and 21. We reset the industry somewhat in 2022, and I think everybody was really expecting 2023 to be somewhat of a large drop off, but shows have been surprisingly good. The
Yeah.
industry continues to be resilient. So yeah, there's some challenges just in terms of cash flow. You know, in 20 and 21, everything was selling. I mean, the OEMs built them and they flowed right through. They
Yep,
weren't even on
right.
dealer lots. So I guess the biggest challenge, Bob, is we're just going to have to work a little harder and smarter than we have, you know, previous, because the pandemic set us up for amazing success. We didn't want that type of success, but we're glad we got it through the pandemic. So it's just going back and, you know, going back to the basics, I guess, as corny as that sounds.
Well, you know, one of the benefits of the pandemic environment was, and I think we're going to see the benefit of it really in 2023, the number of people that we exposed to the lifestyle.
Sure.
Because we broadened the base. And I can tell you from the shows in New England, we're finishing up the New England shows now, the attendance has been crazy. The people have been buying. I mean, not at the record levels, but at a consistent level at all of these shows. So we've established a demographic base that we can build upon, and that's going to come in 23 and 24. So I don't think we're going to see a recessionary type of a dip in the industry. There's so much excitement about the industry from the new people. And we find this at our shows that, you know, 50% of, when we do an introductory type seminar, 50% of the people are attending their very first RV show. That's amazing when you think we're an industry that's 40 or 50 years old. And 90% of them don't, in those category, in the entry level categories, they don't own an RV. I mean, there are so many people who don't own an RV who are excited about this lifestyle. It's onward and upward. There'll be challenges.
Where I am right now is an example of these people here do not have RVs. They have cars, but they came to a campground. They came to a campground for their vacation because everything's here. I don't have to leave this facility. And more people are finding they like the amenities of a campground, but maybe they live in a major metropolitan area and they can't store an RV. They can't have an RV and that type of thing. And Scott, we want to welcome you to this side of the industry. This is going to be your baptism under fire because there's nobody else that does interviews like we do.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate it.
We mean that in the best possible way.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's got to be very exciting for you guys, and you don't have to be humble about, you do have the best industry publications in both the RV and the outdoor hospitality industry. So you're sitting at the top of the peak. So it can only get better from here. You're going to bring new ideas. You're going to bring new technologies, and
No pressure.
no pressure at all. And there's going to be plenty of RVs sold. There's going to be, you know, the changes in the campground industry. I mean, I don't know how old Ben there. I shouldn't call him old Ben. Ben's the young kid compared to us, but how he keeps up with that between the glamping and the the big investors coming into the industry, building luxury resorts, the campgrounds, you know, adding on all over the place. I mean, we're all going to be very busy this year, and I'm very excited for both of you. I think it's a great step forward in your careers, and John and I will be here anytime you want, whatever we can do to help you out on that.
Well, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, John.
Thank you. So, folks, you've been watching the Camp Report Show, a special edition of the Camp Report Show, introducing the new top brass at RV Business, Woodall's Campground Magazine, and probably more things coming up down the road. We want to let you know that this is the Camp Report Show. And Bob, where do we normally get all of our news to talk about?
You know, we get all of our news from RV Business and Rick Kessler and Woodall's Campground Magazine and Ben Quiggle. And we thought that this was a great way to introduce the new ownership team and let the fans know that it just gets better from here, guys.
It sounds so real to hear you say new top brass, because that is it's surreal. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Well, you know what? It won't be our first
statements, Rick, and hopefully John and I will see you at the Power Breakfast in May, which is another gem in your collection over there, where we all get together. You know, nowhere else, and we've all been in other industries. I don't know another industry where you can get over 1,000 people to come to breakfast at 6:30 in the morning in Elkhart, Indiana. And that speaks to our industry. That's the love of the industry, the passion that people have for making the products, selling the products, and using the products. We are very fortunate to be where we are today, and you guys are very fortunate to take the reins of RV Business and Woodall's Campground Magazine, and best of luck to you.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see
Bye
you
now.
real soon.
Thanks, everyone.